we have observed, and in every single test we have devised. So we can safely assume that Newton's law is universal. Did you find that? What does it say? What? Yeah. Can you print that out and give it to me? So that's why I said this concept of chaos in the West it begins with the Greeks. I didn't realize they were talking about a void state, though. That's interesting. So going from that void state or chaos to nature is orderly, and the laws of nature describe that order, is a big, big stretch. And it's not something that we should ascribe to, because how does something become ordered? Like, for example, if we look at object-oriented programming, that is a creation process. You begin with an idea of something you want to do, and then it requires the cooperation of many, many programmers and architects and so forth. Would you agree, Prabhu, that the object-oriented programming is a creation process? You begin with an idea, right? And then you have to get the consultation of many, many people, and then you begin to construct. Well, what I mean, do you develop an algorithm in trying to create the program, or you use an existing algorithm? The algorithm is a functional thing that performs a certain function, right? So if you're going to make a new program, let's say you want to make a program for making, let's say, an accounting program, a special accounting program for a special business. So would you have to devise an algorithm for that? Okay. Okay. But it is a creation process, right? Making a program, a new program. Okay. So then would you agree that object-oriented programming is a process to try and eliminate mistakes or eliminate random, let's say, occurrences that would subvert the result? But object-oriented means that at every step there's checks and balances, right? Of what's... No? Okay, but during this process of creating a program, right, do you try and avoid human error? Yeah, isn't that doesn't that mean that there's checks and balances at every point in the development, right? So that's not the characteristic of object-oriented programming. Right. Okay. So it is an intellectually driven process, right? Okay. So we see that in a human creation context, such as creating a program, a computer program, it's intelligence driven. It's not random, right? I mean, the whole idea is to avoid randomness and to make intelligent decisions all along. So here we have the first assumption of scientists who do scientific research. You remember we discussed this, Augustine? What are the 6 assumptions of the scientists? We only discussed the first one. What? We did this, what? Yesterday. We didn't have a class yesterday. The 6 assumptions of scientists. We did the first one, that nature is orderly. Really? You want to look in your notes? Were you on the retreat or something that day? Okay, so the first assumption of the scientists who do research is that nature is orderly and the laws of nature describe that order. But on the other hand, they say that everything started with a big bang. So did you print out the idea of... Okay. So what was the cause of the Big Bang? Do we know? Do the scientists say what caused the Big Bang? Morley's looking at you as if you know the answer. Do you know the answer? Did you read that somewhere? Okay. So, 1 in a million chances that there was an explosion and then it created the universe. So that's a pretty good guess at it. Yeah, you have any note? No, okay. Wow, someone must have erased, some demon must have come at night and erased it from your book. I'm just kidding. Okay, so 1 in a million chances that there was an explosion and the explosion created the universe. Is that right? You don't know. Okay. But that's pretty good explanation of the Big Bang. So, Prabhu, can you look up the origin of the Big Bang? So, over 2,500 years ago, the Greeks came up with a concept of chaos. C-H-A-O-S. Do you know what chaos means? C-H-A-O-S. Yes. There's disarray and there's no order. Yes. But their concept was a little different of chaos. They said that it refers to a void state, V-O-I-D. So first of all, write down chaos, C-H-A-O-S. C-H-A-O-S. And the Greeks said that, this is 2,500 years ago, chaos refers to a void state, V-O-I-D. A void state preceding the creation of the universe, coming before the creation of the universe. So, chaos mainly means emptiness, a vast void. Or it can also refer to space. It's something that's formless. Okay, so you see, right from earliest times, people were trying to figure out how this world started. Right? Where did this all come from? So the Greeks were talking about this state of chaos. And how was that chaos, this empty space or void, created? Well, they believed that at one time, the earth and the sky, they were one. And then, for some reason or other, they separated. And when they separated, it created this empty space between them. You see how people, when they're trying to figure out how did the creation start, they come up with different theories, different ideas. Like if I asked Advitya, how do you think this world started? What would you say? Okay, that's fair. Okay, if I asked you, Prabhu, how did the world start? Is that the explanation? You don't know. If I ask Agastya, how did the world start, Agastya? Huh? That's one explanation, yes. That's not what the Greeks said, though. And that's what not what the modern scientists say either. So, first of all, we have to understand how we learn things. Like you're kids, right? And I'm an older man. So how do we learn things? This is an explanation by Prabhupada of how we learn. Okay, you ready? Listen very carefully. So the disciple of Prabhupada asked him a question. He said, what's the effect of childhood experiences on the child's later development? Right? Srila Prabhupada answered, children imitate whoever they associate with. You all know the movie Tarzan. You ever see the movie Tarzan? No. You know who Tarzan is? You know who Tarzan is? You heard of it? Okay. You know who Tarzan is, Arush? You know who Tarzan is? Probably you know who Tarzan is? Okay. Tarzan was a little boy who didn't have a mother and father. In other words, he was abandoned somehow or other. And he was adopted by monkeys. You remember now? So, he grew up with them. He didn't have a mother and father. I mean, he had a mother and father, but they weren't there. And he was in the forest, and he when he was not exactly a baby, but a very, very young boy, he found this group of monkeys, and the monkeys accepted him. And he grew up with them. Now, is this a real story or is it a made-up story? It's a made-up story, but there are examples of people like that. They grew up with monkeys or grew up with animals. They didn't have family. Because, maybe their parents left them in the forest, whatever, because they didn't want a child. So, Prabhupada says, children imitate whoever they associate with. You all know the movie Tarzan. He was brought up by monkeys, and he took on the habits of monkeys. If you keep children in good association, their psychological development will be very good. They will become like demigods. But if you keep them in bad association, they will turn out to be demons. Children are a blank slate. You can mold them as you like, and they are eager to learn. Okay, this is Prabhupada speaking. So that means that tell me who your friends are, I will tell you who you are. So if you're associating with nonsense people, what will happen to you? You'll be nonsense. If you're associating all the time with monkeys, what will happen to you? You start acting like a monkey, right? You understand that? And if you associate with devotees, what will happen to you? And if you associate with bad devotees, what happens? You become a bad devotee. Exactly right. So, here Prabhupada says that children are a blank state. Write that down. Blank, B-L-A-N-K, state. S-T-A-T-E. Avidya, you going to write it down or not? Your pencil's broken. You can make a song like that. My pencil was broken. Therefore, I didn't write anything down. And I became stupid. Wow, look what happened. Your pencil was broken. You got a brand new pencil right away. Very good. So where's your notebook? I think the first question we have to ask when the kids come in is, do you have a pen and pencil? Or do you have a pencil and pad? A pen and a pad. 2 P's. Do you have the 2 P's, Marley? No? You don't have a pencil? You got one? Yeah, you got a pen. Okay. So, blank state. B-L-A-N-K S-L-A-T-E. B-L-A-N-K S-L-A-T-E. You know what that means? A blank slate. Yes. What? A black what? Yes. Yeah. It's a blackboard or a piece of paper with nothing written on it. Empty. So, Prabhupada says, children are a blank state. So when you're born, basically it's saying there's nothing written in your mind. Zero. But you can be molded. M-O-L-D-E-D. Molded means you can associate with someone and they can help you understand things. And then your behavior begins to mimic the behavior of the persons you're associating with. So if you have good parents, there's a good chance that you'll be a good kid. And if you have bad parents, there's a good chance you'll be a bad kid. Like just once, there were 2 parrots that were born twins. They looked exactly alike. So after they were born, one parrot was given to a sadhu and the other parrot was given to a meat eater. So the parrot given to the sadhu grew up in the house of the sadhu. And you can teach certain parrots how to talk. You ever see a parrot that knows how to talk? Never? Did you see a parrot? What is it like? But how was the talk of the parrot? Was it like a human being? Yeah, see. You can understand it. Yeah. So if you see a parrot, they can talk. You know, you walk into a room and the parrot's in the cage. You know, it says, "How are you? How are you? How are you?" You know what that means? Yeah, the parrot's talking to you. And you say, you look around, you don't see anybody. You say, "I'm all right, but where are you?" "I'm here. I'm here." So you look around, and it's a bird. The bird's talking to you. Did you know that you can teach parrots how to say a few words? Yeah. Okay. You can actually teach a parrot to chant Hare Krishna. It's possible. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Like that. Right? So, but if there's some danger, right, and the parrot's in danger, it doesn't say Hare Krishna. It says, like that. Forgets Hare Krishna right away. So you don't want to be like the parrot, right, Murli? You don't want to forget Hare Krishna right away when there's danger. You want to remember. You want to say, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. You know. What? That's why I gave you that example. Yeah, yeah. The one time I was in a car, my wife was driving, and she's a terrible driver. She always goes too fast. And, and the kids were in the back, and we were all just sitting there, we're coming to the temple. And all of a sudden she goes off the road. I said, watch out, And then all the kids said, Hare Krishna. Then I realized my kids were more Krishna conscious than me. I'm saying, watch out. They're saying, Hare Krishna, right? So what should you say? Should you say Hare Krishna, or should you say watch out? Yeah. But will you say Hare Krishna? That's the question. I didn't say Hare Krishna. I said watch out. But my kids said Hare Krishna. So children imitate whoever they associate with. You all know the movie Tarzan. Tarzan was brought up by monkeys, and he took on the habits of monkeys. There's a saying in English, monkey see, monkey do. So if you see two kids in the classroom over here, and they're beating each other up and throwing each other against the wall and falling down, would you join them, Arush, and help them do that? No? Okay. What would you do, Advitya? Would you join them? Start pushing and against the wall and banging against the wall and falling down? No? You never did that? You do it sometimes with your brother. Not with the other kids? Never? We're never in that room pushing each other? No. Okay, that's good. How about you, Marley? Did you do that? With your sister, okay. So, monkey see, monkey do. So if you are associating with monkey-like people, what will happen to you? You become like a monkey, like them. Yeah. So Prabhupada says, so a child's personality doesn't develop according to a fixed pattern. So you know what it means by a child's personality? Ria, you know what that means? A child's personality. It means what kind of person you become. You can be a good person, a mixed person, a little bit good, a little bit bad, or a completely bad person. Right? So there's no fixed pattern. It's not that you're destined to be like this or like that. Prabhupada says, no. You can mold them in any way. Like soft dough. Anyone play with Play-Doh? What do you do with Play-Doh, Arush? What do you do? They can make it into different forms, right? You want to make an apple, you can make an apple out of the Play-Doh, right? You want to make a carrot, you can make a carrot out of Play-Doh. You want to make Play-Doh that looks like Advitya, you can make Play-Doh look like... You ever try and make a Play-Doh that looks like yourself? Oh, okay. Well, you can make it into any form you want, okay? So Prabhupada's saying that children can be molded, just like you mold clay dough to look like something. Like soft dough. However you put them into the mold, they will come out. Like chapatis or kachoris. So if you have a mold and you put the clay dough in it, that'll look exactly like the mold. So if the mold is a monkey and you associate with the monkeys, you'll end up looking and acting like a monkey. Okay? So Prabhupada says, therefore, if you give children good association, they will develop nicely. And if you put them in bad association, they will develop poorly. They have no independent psychology. So there's something that happened in the United States about 30 years ago. It was called busing. You know what that means? Busing. Well, 30, 40 years ago, there were many schools, but there were schools where there were predominantly black kids, and there were schools where there were predominantly white kids. So, and the schools where mostly the kids were white, they did much better academically than the schools that were mostly black kids, right? So they decided, the government people decided to force the white kids to be bused from their neighborhoods and to the neighborhoods of the black kids and put them in the black kids' school. And they bused black kids from their neighborhood and put them in the white kids' school. So this was a very unpopular thing. Nobody liked it. I mean, the kids didn't like it at all because sometimes they had to drive 1 hour going to the school way far away from their neighborhood and then 1 hour to come back. And what happened is, instead of the white kids going to the black school continuing to do good in their studies, they started to do bad in their studies. But on the other hand, the black kids that went to the white kids' school, some of them did better, and some of them didn't do good. Right? But most of the white kids that went to the black schools, they started to do much worse than before. Okay. So therefore, monkey see, monkey do. Little kids are something like monkeys. Whatever way whoever they associate with, they assume the qualities of those people. So Prabhupada says, children imitate whatever they associate with. Just like Tarzan. Now, Tarzan was brought up by monkeys. So he looked and acted like a monkey. And also, if you ever read the story of how Rome started, you know where Rome is? Huh? Yeah. Where is it? Italy, yes. So Rome was started about 2,800 years ago. And there were two brothers named Remus and Romulus. Now these two brothers, they were abandoned by their parents. And they were left in the forest. And they didn't know where their mother and father was. But there are wild animals in the forest, right? So there were some wolves in the forest. And the wolves saw these two babies. So wolves have babies too, right? So then one mother wolf, she let the two boys drink her milk. Have you ever heard this story? No. They let the two little baby boys drink her milk. And she treated them like her own children. So they grew up drinking wolf milk. And the wolves, they're meat eaters. So when they were weaned off of the milk, they started to eat meat. The meat, raw meat, because the wolves go out and they kill animals and they bring it back and tear the flesh apart and they give it to their kids, the baby wolves. So these boys grew up drinking mother's milk from the wolf and eating raw meat to stay alive. The wolves don't eat vegetables. They only eat meat and flesh and blood. So then one of the brothers killed the other one. I think it was Romulus killed Remus. And then he became the founder of Rome. And Rome was a very belligerent, very warlike country. And the Romans conquered most of the known world at that time. That was way before America was discovered, the United States, or Yeah, the Americas were discovered. It was European. So Rome conquered most of the European world. It went from England all the way to Persia. It was all part of Rome. And they were very belligerent or warlike people. Why? Because their founder, Romulus, was brought up by wolves. Wolves are very dangerous animals. They'll kill human beings and so forth. Okay, so whoever you associate with, you become like that, like those persons or persons. So Prabhupada says, children have no independent psychology. If you put them in bad association, they will develop bad qualities. If you put them in good association, they'll develop good qualities. So now Prabhupada's devotee is asking, he says, Freud had a rather pessimistic view of human nature. He believed that we are all beset with irrational and chaotic impulses that cannot be eliminated. So Freud was a psychologist and a scientist, basically a doctor scientist. And he studied the human mind and human behavior. And he was convinced that all people are bad. And he was very pessimistic. I write this word now. P-E-S-S. I-M-I-S-M. P-E-S-S. I-M-I-S-M. P-E-S-S. I-M-I-S-M. P-E-S-S. Did you write it down, really? No. Okay. You're going to try and write it down? Okay. P-E-S-S. Write it down. P-E-S-S. I-M-I-S-M. Pessimism. What does this mean? Yes. Yes. You know what it means? It means having a very negative opinion. A very negative opinion. If you meet a person who is pessimistic, that's the adjective, right? That is, they have very negative opinions about everything. They'll say, oh, the temple's not a good place. You go there, they're playing cartels, it hurts my ears. I don't like to go to the temple. Right? Or they say, oh, I don't want to go to the temple anymore. They cook with ghee. Ghee will give me a heart attack, so I'm not going to go there anymore. They're negative about everything. Right? That's pessimism. So Freud said that he had a pessimistic view of human nature. In other words, he didn't think human beings are actually good people by nature. And he believed that all humans are prone to be irrational and they have chaotic impulses that cannot be eliminated. Now, what does this mean? Well, irrational, what does that mean? Irrational. Yes, Augustia. Yeah. In other words, you're not logical in the way you think. And you usually end up doing something that's the opposite of what you should do. They're irrational, and, he says, he believed that people have chaotic impulses. Now, before everyone else came, we studied the word chaos. What does chaos mean? Augustia. Yeah, chaos was a word coined by the Greeks. They believed that there was some type of creation in which at first everything was one, but when the sky and the earth separated, it created a big empty space. And that empty space, they called it chaos. There was nothing ordered in it. Everything was disorderly. There was no specific forms. Okay, so now if we compare the Greek concept of chaos, which means basically like a void in which there's nothing, or there's no objects, nothing, to the Big Bang Theory. Now the Big Bang Theory is that everything began from a point. A point is something that has no dimension. That's the definition of a point. There was a point, but it had something called infinite density, whatever that means. And then there was an explosion, and all of a sudden, everything expanded. But that expansion created what's called chaos. But chaos in that sense is what you would call things just going awry, or things just blowing apart, right? And whatever was organized before now is completely disorganized. That's the modern concept of chaos is like everything's disorganized. There's no organization. The Greek idea was it was empty space. There was no forms or anything. But the modern idea, when you use the word chaos, it means, if you watch Recess at school, right? What's going on in recess at school? Chaos. Kids are running around, they're doing all kinds. Somebody's on the jungle bars, somebody else is falling off the jungle bars, somebody else is running around. It's chaos, and they're screaming. You ever hear kids screaming in playtime? Yeah, that's an idea of chaos, right? Modern chaos. So here it says that according to the modern scientists, there's something called space that's expanding and contracting, right? Just like a balloon, you blow it up and it's expanding, and then you let the air come out, it contracts. So they think that space expands due to some explosion, and then because of the law of gravity, it sort of contracts. It comes back together again and gets organized by some process. They don't know what that process is, but it's due to the law of gravity. Okay. So this Big Bang Theory is taught in schools as the origin of creation. But yet, when we studied some weeks ago the 6 assumptions of scientists, Shrestha, do you remember the first assumption of the scientists? What? No, that's something else. Don't go there. Yeah, the first assumption is nature is orderly, and the laws of nature describe the order. Now, we have a question. If they say there was a Big Bang and it created, expansion of material particles, like a volcano explodes, and it throws a huge amount of carbon into the air, more carbon than all the cars can produce in 10 years, in one explosion of a volcano, right? But it throws all this carbon in the air. So they're describing the creation of the world like that. They don't know why it exploded, and they're not sure what was there they assume that there is a point of infinite density, whatever that means. But then once it explodes, there's like chaos. Chaos means disorder. But then something happens and it becomes orderly and starts functioning according to the laws of nature. Now, answer a question to me. If nature was not orderly, would there be science? What do you think, Murli? You don't know. Okay, what do you think? Yeah. If nature was not orderly, if it was not organized, would there be science? Science is dealing with models, predictable models. You can predict things. You can know when the next eclipse of the sun is, when spring is going to begin. What do you think, Arush? No. You wouldn't be able to have science if nature was disorderly. Because every time you would study something, the next time it would be different. So you wouldn't be able to figure out what's going on. Right? It's just like as soon as you take your eyes off a kid, you don't know what they're going to do. Like just recently in, I think it was Vietnam, there's a family there that own an alligator farm. They have an alligator farm. So they have this big cement pit in their backyard somewhere. And it's full of alligators. Big alligators. And they feed them. And why are they keeping the alligators? Because they make money. They make money in several ways. One way is they sell alligator meat. Did you know that they also sell alligator meat in Louisiana and Florida? Yeah. If you ever want to eat an alligator, you can buy the meat. You can get it on Amazon. Look it up, Prabhu. See if they're selling alligator meat on Amazon. So, then there was this family had 3 kids. They had a new baby that was born, and they had 2 other kids. One of the kids was a 2-year-old girl. So because the mother had a new baby, she was very occupied taking care of her new baby, feeding the baby and so forth. And she took her eyes off of her 2-year-old daughter. The 2-year-old daughter walked into the backyard, walked over to where the alligator pit was. And the alligator pit, there was a fence around it, right? But it was not like a chicken wire fence. It was a fence with bars. She was able to fit through the bars. She fell into the alligator pit, and the alligators ate her. So when the father came home, he asked the mother, where's the 2-year-old girl? She said, oh, I think she's playing in the yard. And so he went in the yard, he didn't see her. He came back and said, she's not there. He said, what? She's not there. So then she came out, and they both started looking. They couldn't find her. And finally, the father had he had a cold chill or in his back, and he was thinking maybe she fell into the pit. So he looked in the pit. He didn't see her, but he kept looking. He saw that her head was there. And it was mostly bloody and eaten. And then he realized his daughter was dead. She was eaten by the alligators. Somehow or other, she fit through the bars of the fence, and the alligator ate her. Right? So why am I saying this? Because kids are chaotic. You can't predict what they're going to do. Just like they never imagined that the little girl would walk into the yard, fit through the bars of the fence, and fall into the pit and be eaten by the alligators. They never imagined that would happen. They were thinking, oh, we have a fence up there, and she wouldn't do anything so stupid. But she did. So there are kids, like, all the time there are accidents with kids in the house. Like, for example, kids just recently learned how to walk and go up and down the stairs, walking slowly. So you take your eyes off the kid, they can try and come down the stairs, and they trip, and they fall all the way down the stairs. Ever happened to you, Arush? Ever happened to Arush? You don't live in a place where there's stairs. You're lucky. Yes, you fell down the stairs. Yeah. Merle, did you fall down the stairs? Did you hurt yourself? Here. Oh, that's because they slide down. Oh, he was walking. Okay. Yeah, it can happen anytime. So kids are chaotic. They can do things that are unexpected. You know. Okay, so the point is that here we have a theory that there's a big bang and it creates chaos, right? Whenever there's an explosion, things are destroyed. But then the scientists say, but nature is orderly and the laws of nature describe that order. So how did it go from a big bang to where there's chaos to an orderly nature? We have to ask that question. They don't really have the explanation. They say it's because of the law of gravity. They don't know what gravity is either. Let me see what this says. Yeah, this is the paper in which the 6 points of assumptions of the scientists, and they say that science assumes that there is an explanation for gravity that relies on natural causes. No, he says, there are natural causes for things that happen in the world around us. For example, if a ball falls to the ground, science assumes that there must be a natural explanation for why the ball moves downward once released. Right now, scientists can describe gravity in great detail, but exactly what gravity is remains elusive. Even though they talk about gravity, they don't really understand what it is. You see? They see it, but they don't really understand how it's working. Still, science assumes that there is an explanation for gravity that relies on natural causes, just as there is for everything in nature. So they say, we don't really understand what gravity is. I just read this, Basic Assumptions of Science, right? These are scientists writing this. They say that we know that there's something called gravity, but we don't understand what it is exactly. We can see it acting, but we're not exactly sure how it's doing it. On the other hand, we believe that it's due to natural causes. Write this word down, natural causes. Naturalcauses. What is a natural cause? Natural, natural cause, 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 natural, cause. What is a natural cause? What do you think, Augustia? Yeah, by itself, exactly, in nature. Nobody did it. It just happens by itself. So, you see, this is the definition of a Mayavadi. What is the definition of the Mayavadi? They avoid God like the plague. You know what a plague is? Anybody know what the plague is? Shasta, you know what a plague is? Yes, like a very dangerous communicable disease, right? Like tuberculosis or something like that. You just associate with a person who has tuberculosis, just by their breathing, you get it. When they exhale, some of the germs come to you and you get it, and you can kill you. It's very dangerous. Ebola is like that also. Such a dangerous disease. You can get it just by talking to someone. So The Mayavadis avoid the name of God like the plague. They'll never say God did it. If you say, if the teacher says, how do you think the law of gravity works? If you say, I think God did it, say, no, that's not the right answer, and don't say that again. They'll get angry. Right? That's what you believe. That's what religion says, but this is not science. That's not science. This is science. But the scientists also say they don't understand how gravity is working. But they're convinced it's by natural causes. What does that mean? Just a natural cause. It's what? It's not man-made. But wait a minute. It's not God-made either. It's just by itself. It's happening in nature. You see? So these are called buzzwords of the scientists. Buzzwords. B-U-Z-Z words. Buzzwords are words they choose to say to avoid the truth. Right? They choose to say these type of words. Natural causes. Instead of saying God did it, they avoid God like the plague. Like it's, like if you say the word God, you'll get AIDS or something, and they give these phony explanations that are not true. Okay, yes. Well, the Christian explanation is not scientific. It's not like the Bhagavatam explanation. No, look, here's what happens. The Christians say, you say, how come there are clouds in the sky? God did it. How come the birds can fly? God did it. How come we get sick? God did it. How come there's war? God did it. Right? So, God did it. 3 words. God did it. Right? So, instead of saying God did it, they say nature did it. Right? See, the Christians are not giving explanations how God did it. They just said God did it. In 7 days he created the world. First day he did this, second day he did that. The 7th day he took rest. And yeah. See, so this God did it. So all they do is say nature did it. You don't have to give an explanation. So if the Christians said God did it without an explanation, the atheists say nature did it without an explanation. Whereas Bhagavatam explains step by step how God did it. You see, there's no other explanation like that. They don't say first day he did this, second day he did that, and the 6th day he finished it all, 7th day he took rest. There's no explanation how he did it, right? So then they pick up on what the Christians say, and they say nature did it. In other words, the concept of God in Christianity is, it sounds personal, but it's actually impersonal. Because if it was personal, you would be able to explain how he did it. But if you just said God did it, then you could say nature did it. You don't have to explain how he did it, or how nature did it. So it's the fault of the Christians, because they speculated. The ancient Jews wrote the Old Testament. They were not really interested in the creation, but in order to make their explanation of the history of the Jewish people look plausible, they stuck something in there for creation. Right? Now, is it wrong that the God did it? No, it's right, but there's no explanation how he did it. So, therefore, if they're not giving an explanation how he did it, then why should the modern scientists? They just said nature did it. We don't believe in God. We believe in nature. You see how it develops. That's why without going to Bhagavatam, you're just going to be speculating, and you're just going to make up theories that are easily defeated by rational people. So today, all the kids are taught to be rational. They're taught to be scientific, So therefore, why should they believe God did it? They can say nature did it. See, that's why so many kids end up becoming atheists, because God did it is not really an explanation. It's a general explanation, but it can be replaced by nature. Okay. So the first point of the 6 assumptions of the scientists is that nature is orderly. If it wasn't orderly, they could not do science, because it would be chaos. Every time they do an experiment, there would be different results. They would not be able to recognize any models or any patterns. That's what chaos is. Okay, so now the second assumption of the scientists second assumption of scientists is they say that everything is happening by natural causes, right? Natural causes means there's no God, there's no people, it's just nature doing things on its own. So the second assumption is we can know nature. What do scientists do? Probably you know. What do they say? How do they find out things? They what? Well, now, how do they get to their theory? That's it. That's the answer. Scientist proceeds by observation of nature. So their second point, the first point is nature is orderly, and there are laws of nature that describe that order. So their second point is we can know nature just by observation. Is this true, Augustia? No. Why is it not true that they can know nature by observation? Let's put it like it. It's not completely true. It's only true to a certain, very limited extent. Why is that? Yes. We have imperfect senses. We have limited senses, and they're imperfect. Therefore, we make mistakes. We're easily illusioned. And we have a cheating propensity. Next week, I'm going to explain many examples of cheating in science. And you'll be shocked how much cheating there is in science. Okay, so this is the second assumption. And the scientists say, we assume that we can learn about nature and natural law through observing it. This might seem self-evident, but it isn't. Until you make the logical assumption that you can learn about something by observing it, you can't begin to reason about it. Once again, we are assuming that something is universally true. See, this is what Newton did. Newton was the first person that gave an explanation why the planets move in an orderly way. Because he said there have to be universal laws that are valid here on the earth and in space. So he assumed that the law of gravity is universal. Right? It's a universal law. And that's why nature is orderly, because there are universal laws in nature. How did they come about? Rio, how do you think universal laws came about? What do the scientists say? And then what do you think? First say what the scientists say. How did they come about? They come about by nature itself. Nature did it. Right? That's not an explanation, but it sounds like an explanation. But how did order come about in nature? What's the real explanation? Krishna did it. That's it. Yes. And if you read Bhagavatam, you'll know how he did it. Okay. In fact, our lesson today was a verse from the Bhagavatam which says, second canto, 6th chapter, 34th verse. It says, my dear son, he's speaking to Brahma, and he says, whatever you inquired from me, whatever questions you asked me, I have thus explained to you. And you must know for certain that whatever there is, either as cause or as effect, both in the material and spiritual worlds, is dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that means Ishwara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. Krishna is the cause of everything, whether in the spiritual world or the material world. And Krishna is everything. He's the cause of everything, and he is everything. So is it true that everything is Krishna? What do you say, Arush? No. Why not? You answered correctly, but why is Krishna not everything? Why Krishna is everything? Why is Krishna is everything? Why is that? He's what? He is in everything? Huh? We just said Krishna is everything, but everything is not Krishna. Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, everything comes from Krishna, the material energy, the spiritual energy, and Krishna is present in everything as Paramatma. So therefore, Krishna is everything. Now, is everything Krishna, Arush? You said no. Why not? Yeah, that's correct. But Krishna's individuality is different. Like, is the dog Krishna? But is Krishna in the dog? Yes. So most people will say, well, if he's in the dog, that means the dog is Krishna. No. The dog is an individual and Krishna is an individual. Right? So Krishna is everything, but everything is not Krishna. Therefore, you can't say, Krishna is everything, therefore I'll worship the dog. No, the dog is not Krishna. But the dog's body is made from Krishna's energy. The dog's soul is part and parcel of Krishna, comes originally from Krishna. So, therefore, you can say Krishna is everything, and then you can't say, however, that everything is Krishna. Okay, so here, in this verse, 2nd Canto, 6th chapter, verse 33, Krishna is telling Brahma that he's the cause and the effect, both in the material and spiritual worlds, and that everything is dependent on him. This is an important point to understand. Scientists don't understand this. Therefore, they say nature did it. That means they don't understand anything about nature. Okay, so the first assumption of the scientists is that nature is orderly and it functions by different laws. And the second assumption is that by observing nature, we can know it. We can know everything about it. And the third assumption is everything we see has a natural cause. Is this true? Avidya. Is it true that everything we see, like your book bag, does it have a natural cause? That means it was caused by nature. No. What's the cause of your book bag? Someone made it. Yes. So there's two someones. One is the manufacturer. But did the manufacturer create the earth, the water, the fire, the air in the bag? No. He just collected these things and put it together. So who created the original substances that are in that bag? Krishna. So Krishna is the original cause. The manufacturer is the secondary cause, not the primary cause. Without the primary cause, the secondary cause could not happen. Krishna creates all the materials by which you manufacture your book bag. So this concept, the third concept of the scientist, did you write down the first three concepts, Arush? Well, you have to write them down. You won't be able to do your homework unless you do it. Or you tell Arush what the first one is. No, you tell Arush what the first one is. Nature, did you write that down? Write it down. Nature is orderly. And there are laws in nature. That's all part of one. Nature is orderly, and there are laws in nature. Write that down, Augusta. There are laws in nature. Okay, number 2. Shasta, what's number 2? Yeah, we can know nature by observation. Number 2. Write that down. You got that? Okay. We can know nature by observation. This is the scientist. This is not what Krishna says. This is what the demons say, the nonsense people, right? If someone says that, if you're explaining to someone about nature, you don't say, well, we believe nature is orderly and the laws of nature describe that order, and we believe we can know nature simply by observation. But then you're talking like the demon, like the scientist. Don't say like that. This is what they believe. It's not what we believe or we know from Krishna. Yeah, nature is orderly and there are laws in nature because Krishna created the material world. And he's the original scientist. And we can know nature? No, we can't because we have imperfect senses. We can know some things, but not everything about nature. And the third one is everything you see in nature has a natural cause. Write that down. Everything you see in nature has a natural cause. So the scientists say that we assume, in other words, we believe that nothing we see is unnatural. What does that mean, Kavya? What does that mean? Nothing we see it says one second. We assume that nothing we see is unnatural. What is that? This is the scientist. We assume that nothing we see is unnatural. In other words, they're saying not one thing that we see in this world is unnatural, meaning natural means it's caused by nature, right? So, yes, that's what it means. Nothing we see is unnatural. That means everything is caused by nature. You eliminated the double negative, so they were saying the opposite, that everything is caused by nature. They don't want to say everything is caused by nature, because if you say that, it almost sounds like nature is God. So what they say is, nothing you see is unnatural. They said it the opposite. Whenever you want to trick people, you use a double negative in English. Then people don't understand exactly what you're trying to say. And when they try and understand it, it usually means minus God. Okay. So he says, all phenomena have natural causes. So another way of saying that is nothing we see is unnatural. Unnatural means it would have been created by God. They don't believe that. And then, number fourth assumption, nothing is self-evident. Write it down, number 4. Nothing is self-evident. Yeah, but self-evident, this is what it means. Like, thunder causes milk to turn sour. Okay. Does thunder cause milk to turn sour? No, it doesn't. So that's not an explanation. So it would not. So, but you see thunder, and you happen to have some sour milk in your refrigerator. So you assume that it was the thunder that caused the milk to go sour. That's not that's something that seems to be self-evident. And that's why they say nothing you see is self-evident. This is the assumption of the scientists. Because they say, if I told you that thunder causes milk to turn sour, any idiot knows that. But how would you know I was telling the truth or not? Would you just accept my word for it? Or would you challenge me about it? Or would you place a glass of milk on your table during a thunderstorm and test my statement? The advancement of knowledge requires that we assume something we know could be wrong, and if that is the case, we should test it to see if it's true. So what he's saying, what this scientist is saying here is that you should never accept an explanation like God did it. That's what they're saying. Okay, we'll finish after the deities. Yeah. Nothing is independent of their observation.
यश यशोमती नंदन ब्रजबर नागर गोकुल रंजन काना यशोमती नंदन ब्रजबर नागर गोकुल रंजन काना गोपी परनदन मदन मनोहर गोपी परनदन मदन मनोहर कालिय दमन विदाना अमल हरिनाममिय विलासा अमल हरिनाममिय विलासा विपिन पुरंदर नवीन नगर बर बंसी बदान सुवासा प्रजन पालन सुरकुल नासना प्रजन पालन सुरकुल नासना नंद गोदन रखुवाला गोविंद माधव नवनीत तास्करा गोविंद माधव नवनीत तास्करा सुंदर नंद गोपाला जमुना तट छर गोपी बसन हर रास रसिक कृपा मोया श्री राधा वल्लभ वृंदावन नटवर श्री राधा वल्लभ वृंदावन नटवर भक्ति विनोद श्राया भक्ति विनोद श्राया यशोमती नंदन ब्रजवर नागर गोकुल रंजन काना जय राधा Jayo Lakshmi Narasimha, Jayo Lakshmi Narasimha, Jayo Lakshmi Narasimha, Jayo Lakshmi Narasimha. Jayo Sita Ram, Jayo Sita Ram, Jayo Sita Ram, Jayo Lakshman Hanuman. Jayo Jagannatha, Jayo Jagannatha, Jayo Baladeva, Jayo Subhadra. Jayo Gauranita, Jayo Gauranita, Jayo Gauranita, Jayo Gauranita. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol.
Okay, so this is a very interesting purport by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Brahma says in the first canto, 6th chapter, text 32. I read text 34 where he says that, 33 where he says that he is both the cause and effect in the material and spiritual worlds. And everything is dependent on him. In text 32 he says that by Lord Krishna's will I create, Brahma says, Lord Shiva destroys, and he himself in his eternal form as the personality of Godhead maintains everything. He is the powerful controller of these three energies. What three energies? Goodness, passion, and ignorance. So, when he says he himself in his eternal form as the personality of Godhead, he's talking about Krishna's form as Kshirodakshay Vishnu. Okay. So in the purport, Prabhupada says, the conception of one without a second is clearly confirmed here. The one is Lord Vasudeva, or Krishna, and only by his different energies and expansions are different manifestations, both in the material and in the spiritual worlds, maintained. In the material world also, Lord Vasudeva is everything, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Vasudeva Sarvam Iti, Bhagavad Gita 7:19. Everything is Vasudeva only. In the Vedic hymns also, the same Vasudeva is held to be supreme. It is said in the Vedas, Vasudevat Paro Brahman Na Chanyo Rito Sti Tatvataha. In fact, there is no greater truth than Vasudeva. And Lord Krishna affirms the same truth in the Bhagavad Gita 7:7. Matak Parataram Nanyat. There is nothing above me, Lord Krishna says. So the conception of oneness, as overly stressed by the impersonalist, is also accepted by the personalist devotee of the Lord. The difference is that the impersonalist denies personality in the ultimate issue, whereas the devotee gives more importance to the personality of Godhead. So that's why I say the Mayavadis will avoid the name of Krishna like the plague. They they don't accept that the Supreme Absolute Truth is a person. The impersonalist denies personality in the ultimate issue, whereas the devotee gives more importance to the personality of Godhead. So the devotee says the ultimate truth is Krishna, and the Mayavadi says there is an ultimate truth, but it's not a person. So they both use the word ultimate truth or Supreme Absolute Truth, but the Mayavadi denies that it's a person, and the devotees insist that it's a person. Lord Vasudeva, is when he says Lord Vasudeva with a long A, that means Krishna, is one without a second, but because he is all-powerful, he can expand himself as well as display his omnipotency, omnipotencies. So he can expand himself, and every expansion has all his power. It's not that the power of his expansions diminish as the expansions increase. Each one has the same power as the Lord. So Balaram has the same power as the Lord. Mahavishnu has the same power. Not exactly the same form or the same color or the same activities, but the same power is there, whether it's Mahavishnu, Narayana, or Balaram. So the conception of oneness is overly stressed by the impersonalist, is also accepted by the personalist devotee of the Lord. The difference is that the impersonalist denies personality in the ultimate issue, meaning in the absolute truth, whereas the devotee gives more importance to the personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam explains this truth in the verse under discussion. Lord Vasudeva is one without a second, but because he is all-powerful, he can expand himself as well as display his omnipotencies. The Lord is described here as omnipotent by three energies, Tri, Shakti, and Drik. So primarily, his three energies are internal, marginal, and external. So everyone gets this sheet that explains the 6 fundamental assumptions of the scientist. It's important that you have this sheet so you can do your homework. Similarly, the internal potency is also displayed in 3 spiritual modes, Samvit, Sandini, and Haladini. The marginal potency, that basically means eternity, bliss, and knowledge. The marginal potency, or the living entities, is also spiritual, Prakritim Vidime Param. But the living entities are never equal to the Lord. The Lord is Nirasta Samya Atishaya. In other words, no one is greater or equal to the Supreme Lord. So the living entities, including even such great personalities as Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, are all subordinate to the Lord. In the material world also, in his eternal form of Vishnu, he maintains and controls all the affairs of the demigods, including Brahma and Shiva. Okay, so when the scientist says, point 4, nothing is self-evident, they're saying, basically, so if someone says, thunder causes sour milk, any idiot knows that. So if someone says that to you, how would you know if it's true or false? What do you think, Arush? What would you do? Yeah, you would put the glass of milk on your kitchen table and you wait for a thunderstorm to see if it turns sour. Good, if you wait too long, it'll turn sour by itself, but you would have to get some milk, and as soon as there's a thunderstorm, you have to put it on your kitchen table and just wait to see if it turns sour. Okay. So, yes, would you place a glass of milk on your table during a thunderstorm and test the statement that thunder causes sour milk? Any idiot knows that. And you'll see, no, it doesn't turn sour because of the thunder. So he says, the advancement of knowledge requires that we assume something we know could be wrong, and if that is the case, we should test it to see if it's true. Well, what's the problem with that statement that they just made? It's on your sheet, under 4, the last sentence. The advancement of knowledge requires that we assume something we know could be wrong, and if that is the case, we should test it to see if it's true. Again, they're saying things in a way to mix you up. If it says thunder causes milk to turn sour, we know that's wrong, but we should test it to see if it's true or false by putting a glass of milk on the kitchen table when there's a thunderstorm to see if it turns sour. Right? What's wrong with that statement, especially the last part? And if that is the case, we should test it to see if it's true. Yes? Yes. Yeah. There could be something, like, for example, can you prove that a black hole exists? Well, a black hole in the universe. Well, by definition, a black hole is something that sucks in the energy and destroys it. And then it explodes and throws the energy out again. So you wouldn't be able to get close enough to a black hole and you would die. So it's something that's non-provable because we're limited. The same with the temperature of the sun. You can sort of estimate the temperature of the sun, but you wouldn't know for sure unless you went to the sun. But if you went to the sun, you would burn to death. So there are many things that you never know 100% sure because of our limitations. So when he says nothing is self-evident, but we say that there are self-evident truths. Like, for example, every child has a mother and father. Even the test tube child has a mother and father. It's self-evident. And obviously, if every child has a father and mother, then there must be some original father and mother. Self-evident. So they're saying here, nothing is self-evident. Most religious truth is self-evident. But they're against self-evidence, so therefore the scientists say nothing is self-evident. Then next, knowledge is derived from acquisition of experience. That's true in a limited way. But how will you gain experience of the spiritual world? Just like how you gain experience of what's going on the sun planet. How would you do that, Arush? No, because if you went there, you'd burn to death. You'd burn to death even before you got there. Because we're limited. Right? So, knowledge is derived from acquisition of experience. That means you have to, it's derived by the senses, the experience of the senses. No, not all knowledge is derived by the experience of the senses. That's based on pratyaksha and anumana. What's pratyaksha? Riya, you know what pratyaksha is? Huh? Learning through observation. And what's anumana? You know what anumana is? Well, the example, if there's smoke, there must be fire. Huh? What? No, it's inductive. Yeah. Through observation. Okay. So, the knowledge is derived from acquisition of experience, or knowledge is derived through experience. Limited knowledge. It depends on our senses. And the mind is one of the senses. So if our senses are contaminated, then we'll never completely understand through observation. And then the sixth assumption is knowledge is superior to ignorance. And it says, knowing more is better than knowing less. This is why we have schools and universities and the like. Is this a true statement? What do you think? Not necessarily, because the more nonsense you know doesn't mean you have more knowledge. Like if you can win a spelling bee, let's say you win the national spelling bee, does that mean you go back to Godhead? No. You could be just as retarded in going back to Godhead as a person who can't even read. So knowledge is superior to ignorance? Not always. What if you learn the wrong things? What if the knowledge you have is all wrong? Just like, let's say, there are many kids now that are expert in Harry Potter. They can recite it just like a Vaishnava would recite the Srimad Bhagavatam. They know everything about Harry Potter, right? Does that make you, that knowledge, does that make you superior? No. That knowledge is ignorance. The whole story of Harry Potter is all ignorance. So these are the 6 major assumptions of science. So your homework is explain whether these 6 are true or false. Huh? Yes. Some of them might be limitedly true or partially true. And if you have any questions about that, you can ask me. Okay, now listen to what the scientists say also. They say reality is very, very complicated, and we as humans are rather limited. Not even the smartest or the most gifted of us humans can know about everything or be able to have a complete understanding of everything. This is why science is divided into different disciplines: physics, geology, biology, mathematics, chemistry, archaeology, psychology, etc. Each of those categories can, of course, be subdivided into other disciplines, as different and unrelated as some of these disciplines may seem to each other. They all overlap. The science of biology have been benefited from discoveries made in chemistry. Chemistry has benefited from discoveries made in physics. One must never forget that the overarching purpose of science is to understand everything, and all these living disciplines. All these disciplines affect us all the time. As you sit there reading this, there are physical forces working on your body and chemical reactions tampering in you. Chemical reactions happening in your gut, biological processes taking place in your cells, psychology going on in your head, etc. All these processes happen everywhere, all the time. The separation of disciplines do not really reflect reality, but it had to be done in order to study reality. This is why in many cases today you'll find multidisciplinary teams working together, and in order for them all to work together and to be able to integrate all their combined knowledge, there had to be a number of these base assumptions made. These 6 assumptions are common to all the disciplines and to all scientists. So this is basically what he's saying here, is that human beings are very limited. One human being cannot understand everything. So therefore we divide nature into different parts, and we study each part separately, but there's interfaces of the parts, and anybody who wants to understand the truth of everything, they have to come together with the other intellectual disciplines, and everyone has to cooperate and share information to get the bigger picture. That's what he's saying. So they believe that with everyone all the scientists cooperating with each other, which doesn't happen, by the way. Very seldom does it really happen. But everybody cooperating with each other, then they can know everything about nature. That is a false statement. They can know some things, yes, but not everything. Because the nature is not only on this planet. It's all over the universe and in the spiritual world. So they do not have access to that. Okay. So you have your homework. You can do some research also if you want. But discuss what is true, what is not true in these 6 fundamental assumptions of science. Okay? Got it, right? It's a big assignment. And you can search throughout the Bhagavatam. You can go on the internet. You can use what you've learned here and also benefit from the discussion we had today. Haribol. Yes. Yes. Okay. I'll have it photocopied and given to you right now. That's a direct statement from Prabhupada from his book. The book is, I'll tell you in a second. Oh, here it is. What is the effect of childhood experiences on the child's later development, right? So children imitate whoever they associate with. This is what you want, right? Okay. 1 second. I'll photocopy